but also that hesitancy of the police and hesitancy to have somebody in uniform in a position of authority, and quite frankly, a sign of oppression for many people. So we talked about that, how we could balance that, and what we came up with was some preemptive, back and forth. So we have some communication ahead of time to see where everyone kind of lands, and we can either cover it visibly or cover events not visibly, where we're not there out of the car, standing there for those that don't want to see us there. But at least we have knowledge that the event is going on. In the event, we would have to respond quickly to protect folks. So I actually am not the person that really makes that decision. That really is, we relied on Gregory and Curtis to kind of facilitate what we thought the best approach would be. We even discussed perhaps partnering some in some events that where there may be room for that, because it was brought up that in some places the police department participates in parades and in some events. So where that space is available, we're glad to be there. Where that becomes uncomfortable, we're glad to not be there. I think that's certainly my take on it. And as long as we are aware of events so that we can have a response if needed, I think that's kind of the ground where we landed.
Thank you. Do you have a follow-up question, Ephraim?
Sure, I can just follow up briefly. As other than the members of this panel, has there been any other queer folks of color that the police department can keep up with? As I know, the Shayez is one aspect of the LGBTQ community. Has there been anyone else that has reached out or that you've been in contact with?
I will say that our primarily our conduit is this commission, and businesses. Well, the Shay probably be in the primary and only business that I know of that we've had conversations with to this point. Through the commission, we've opened the doors to learn about and know about events. We have community service officers and district commanders, the people that are in charge of the districts. They keep their ear to the ground for any events that come up, regardless of what they involve, and they make sure that we reach out and we have coverage where wanted. We're not looking to push ourselves into places where we're not. But I think we used to have. I attended some meetings at True Colors. That unfortunately not here anymore. Any opportunity for us to be out there and engaging in the community as a whole, we take advantage of. But I don't know of anyone that's reached out about events other than Shay.
Okay. My last question is that I know you have a board of LGBTQ plus officers on staff in the Hartford area, and I have reached out to them several times the past 2 years with little response. Do you know where that's heading? What exactly is it that they do, and the types of events that they work on and their purpose?
So we here at the police department had a liaison. That program, due to some lack of ability for us to find interested officers, is no longer. We no longer have a liaison. We tried to move to an affinity group, but again, I think right now there's some level of discomfort with the officers stepping up in that way, and I am not going to force that on the officers. My goal, as I've spoken to Curtis about it and to Gregory about it, my goal is to try to foster and build a bridge again, starting with this commission and being here when, the last time I was here, we had a great dialogue, I thought, and just continuing to do that to try to kind of rebuild that slowly to a place where the officers feel like, like they're respected and that everyone feels like they're included. But I do think that's going to take a little bit of time, and we'll continue to work on that.
Thank you. Oh, echo. Yeah, thank you, Ephraim. Thank you, Chief Thody. We are, we do have a packed agenda today, but I recognize how many people are here. So if there was one other person who wanted to ask a question.
I have a question. Hi. So I know that the reason why that you don't have an LGBT liaison is not because of lack of interest. I want to draw your attention to Leslie Hammond's comment in the chat. My question is, what are you doing to protect queer women officers in your department, including resolving the ongoing sexual harassment complaints from your former LGBT liaison?
Just give me 1 second here. I just got to find this. You said it's a comment in the chat.
Uh, 457 from Leslie. Yep.
Yeah, so like I said,
Can I pause for just one moment? Facebook Live doesn't have access to the chat. If it's going to go into actual conversation, somebody needs to actually read it, so
I can read.
We know what's being addressed on the Facebook stream.
Okay, so Leslie Hammond, before she left, said, "I have to leave soon. Thank you for allowing public comment. My concern is the fact that there is no LGBTQ supervisor with the police. Alarming. Officer, I apologize, I don't know how to say her last name.
Bayerga.
Applied to be sergeant but was denied. I believe that Chief Thody is still having retribution against her, which he has with anyone who he perceives as not loyal. He has been this way ever since he made her harassment case. He has been this way ever since she made her harassment complaint against Rodney, a DTC person who was protected. Officer Bayerga was an amazing LGBTQ liaison for years and brought in so many new officers that were from Hartford, men, women, LGBTQ. A big loss for the community, all of us. I will watch the rest on Facebook. Thank you all for your service." That was Leslie, not me.
Yeah, so the Officer Bayerga was the second to last LGBTQ plus liaison that we had. We had another officer that stepped up into that role after Officer Bayerga left that role, which was something that Officer Bayerga wanted to do. She didn't want to be in that role anymore. And, like I said, I'm not going to force anybody to do anything. As far as the harassment complaint, there was a harassment complaint that took an excessive amount of time. We've discussed it at length here. The process was a broken one between HR and when I came back here as an assistant chief, it was one of the first things that I recognized that that wasn't being handled properly, and took it, kind of took the issue up, and we had to kind of play it by ear to try to bring it to a resolution that made sense. We did. The officer that was involved in that harassment was disciplined, and then it's some folks still without all the facts, like to make comments like that one. But there are personnel matters at play there as well. That I don't discuss people's personnel matters publicly, but there is a desire there here, at least in the police department, to try to move forward with an affinity group. Finding people that are interested in doing that right now is difficult, and mostly because of some of the issues that the LGBTQ plus liaison faced after Officer Bayerga. I think I would 100% agree that Officer Bayerga did a great job as the LGBTQ plus liaison. She also did a great job in recruitment. Unfortunately, this harassment issue came up, and she was no longer interested in either one of those positions. And at her request, we moved her. I can't take somebody that was a victim of that and continue to put them in a position that they're not interested in doing. So that was at her request, and it was granted. The person that I think people were very much connected with Officer Bayerga, and the person that took that that position from her, I think had big shoes to fill, but I think a lot of folks didn't give her a fair shake, and it turned into a situation where we ended up where we are now, where no one was interested in that position. Again, I've made it very clear, about the openness and the dialogue um,
It is very high,
with,
reflective
with,
on the
with this,
quality
with this
and
commission, and
presentation
I'm
priorities of the
hoping that
institution.
people will,
Consent-
I'm hoping that people will step up again.
So I'm just gonna remind you of what my question was. What are you and your police department doing to protect queer people, specifically queer women within your police department?
So we have, we have policies that protect everyone here. That's not specific just to any one group. We have to be protective of every group, especially protected classes that are here. So we have city policies that are in place for that, and that's what we rely on to do. We do training. I've made Curtis and Gregory aware of the cultural competency training. So we do training. We make sure that there are policies in there to protect. We don't allow harassment. We don't allow those behaviors to go unpunished, and that's what we can do. There's always room for improvement, but that's what, as a city agency, that's where we are at this point.
All right. Sorry, did you have a follow-up, Naya, or something?
Yeah. I'm just gonna ask again because you didn't really answer my question. You just said you have policies. What specifically are you doing to protect and to attend to any issues that may come up because of any officers' marginalized identities, specifically queer officers and queer women officers? So
to answer the question again, I don't have a breakout for a specific group of people. Our job here is to protect all employees. We do training specific in cultural competency specific to identification of issues that arise with different cultures, inclusive of the LGBTQ plus community, but not taking them out and treating them in some different way. Our policies are far-reaching and they are consistent, and we adjust them on a regular basis. Same thing with our training. The same thing with any interaction that we have that involves around misconduct that could be connected to a group, any group that is targeted. That is how we operate as an employer, how we operate as a city. So if to your question, I don't have specific specific policies that just direct to one specific group of people. Our policies are here to protect all of our employees and to make sure that everyone feels comfortable here. And when they're not, when they don't, and we identify it, we handle it with discipline. We handle it with transfers, with whatever we need to do. It is, those policies are called zero tolerance, for a reason. So.
Thank you, Naya. Thank you, Chief Thody. I really just wanted to say really quickly, I appreciate how many members of the public we have here this evening. I do hope that we can continue to get involvement from members of the public in our meetings. Because, as a commission, we serve the city of Hartford, we serve the city of Hartford's LGBTQ plus residents, and it's important to hear your voices. So thank you for showing up. We do have a packed agenda and our meeting is scheduled to end at 6 p.m. Gannon, I know you asked in the chat if you could make a comment. If you have a comment that you can give in about 60 seconds, please go ahead, and then let's prepare to move on.
Okay, I'm a little confused by that because I thought public comment was part of this meeting, but first I want to thank you all for your service. I want to also thank you for overseeing the transition with True Colors, which is incredibly troubling. It was a sudden and irresponsible closure that put youth at risk, and I applaud you for following that, and I hope you'll continue to do so. I also want to just encourage the commission to act in solidarity with the African American Alliance of Hartford, which has called for Chief Thody to resign. There are several reasons incredibly well spelled out in their letter, which I'm sure you all have seen. But I hope that you all will associate yourselves with those in solidarity and allyship with the Alliance. It's not appropriate for a city commission to partner with a police department It's troubling to hear that Thody, 2 years after Kelly Baerga was harassed, the department did nothing about it. As far as I know, the person who harassed her is still in good standing with the police department. Officer Baerga just passed the sergeant exam. We have not enough women sergeants. We don't have enough lesbian sergeants. And she was denied a promotion by Chief Thody. So I hope the commission will ask him about that. And I also just want to ask you guys why there's so few women on the commission. It's mostly men. And I see Chief Thody mentioning, name dropping people on the commission that he's met with, which is nice for you to do. But 2 men on the commission simply don't represent the thousands of queer people in the city. And I hope that you all and he doesn't take it as that. I also just want to mention that Chief Thody, this may have changed since, I don't think it has, but the last time that I asked you this question directly, I think it was in 2019, you said to me that you were not aware of any out gay male who was a Hartford cop. Now, Chief Thody's been with the department for 25 plus years, and I don't guess there was one before he got there. What does that mean to you all? That gay men either won't or don't work in the Hartford Police out of 400 officers, most of whom are men, or that they don't feel safe coming out at work. And when you hear a chief say, oh yeah, we don't need any special policy for a particular community that has a sensitive relationship with police that needs to be changed and that needs to build trust, he doesn't have any particular plan for doing that and for building that trust. He thinks all lives matter is what he just said to you all. And I hope you take that seriously, because meeting with people in a commission is a good step. It's a good thing to do. It's not a policy and it's not justice. And we, 2-3 years later, we're still here standing with Kelly Baerga and asking for justice for her. So I hope the commission will take that into account. Chief Thody's acting in bad faith, and those of us who followed him for a couple of years can identify that pretty clearly. Thank you.
I'd also like to make public comment. I emailed twice asking to sign up and received no response. There's also no way to contact any of you directly, which I think is a pretty big issue.
Hello, this is Curtis. I'm glad you showed interest. I just want to know, definitely hit me up. I'm not sure who your email was sent. Was it to become a commissioner or what have you? If it was, I'll put my email in the chat and I can connect you with the city format for how to apply to be a commissioner. Again, I haven't received anything. Again, so I'm not sure where it went, but I'll share my personal email with you and we can connect offline.
No, I tried to sign up for public comment with David Grant. He didn't reply to me. None of your emails are available online.
Yeah, David Grant is over on the other side of the house now, and he works directly with City Council. Kim Taylor is now our city staffer, and so she is the person that folks would go to for something like that in advance. But yeah, David Grant is no longer associated with us. He is associated with City Council.
Okay, so it's a pretty significant issue that's not communicated thoroughly to the public.
So we've been, Kim Taylor has taken over a few months ago. And so all of our meetings have been live online on our Facebook page. So it has been private. There's no press release or anything like that. However, there has been communication from the city in regards to the change with the Office of Equity and Opportunity, in which Kim Taylor works closely with Karen Taylor, who's the director in that office. And so Karen, thank you. Please feel free. But that's where that transition happened at.
Okay. Well, again,
I put in my email. Please, I love talking to people. I live in Hartford myself. So please connect with me and we can definitely keep the conversation moving. I know several folks on this meeting, Kamora, Ephraim, everyone. So I have no problem in connecting with anyone. Even Gannon knows myself personally. So like, I will connect with you and I can give you any and all information.
okay.
Because I'm definitely accessible, okay? So I don't want you to feel like there's a block. You connect with me and I can assist you and help you navigate any way you need to go.
Okay, thank you. I would like to give public comment.
Okay, I know that you spoke already. We'll open it up until 5:20 and then I apologize. However, we do have to move on. So you go right ahead and at 5:20 we will have to transition. But if you don't mind, yeah, go ahead. And then Karen, if you could jump in right after that, because I know your response may be in response to our guests. So go ahead.
Okay. I'd also like to ask if I could go till 5:21 since you just spoke for another minute after you said that. Anyways, so my name is Naya McLemery. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a non-binary and lesbian 16-year-old resident of Hartford. I'm here to voice my concerns regarding the commission's budding partnership with the Hartford Police Department and with Chief Thody. As I said, I think it's extremely, inappropriate that there's not access to your contact information online except for your home addresses. And let's be real, I'm not sending you snail mail in 2021. So that's the first thing. But let me get straight to the point. It is inappropriate, counterproductive, and dangerous to form a partnership with Hartford Police and Thody. In their April 2021 letter, the Greater Hartford African American Alliance listed a plethora of reasons why Jason Thody should not be the chief of police, including the fostering of a white supremacist environment within HPD and the streets of Hartford. I will not be listing every reason Thody is incompetent, but you can read that in the Alliance's letter. What I will say is that the LGBT Commission's partnership with HPD and Thody is a betrayal to the Black community. It is our responsibility as marginalized people to stand in solidarity against oppression by partnering with HPD and Thody. By partnering with Thody, not only are you standing for oppression, you are actively standing against our Black brothers, sisters, and siblings, queer or otherwise. I urge you to read or reread the Alliance's letter, and there are a few more points I would like to add that I think are important for the LGBT Commission to take into account. Happy Pride Month, by the way. Might I remind you that Pride before it became a corporate month of pinkwashing, was focused on queer liberation, not assimilationism. Pride only exists because Black and brown, queer, trans, and gender nonconforming people fought against police violence. To be pro-cop is to be anti-queer. Across the country, police violence is committed against queer people, specifically Black trans women, at a wildly disproportionate rate. The cops hurt us. It is dangerous and counterproductive to work with them. Let us not forget that the queer officer who came out about her experiences with sexual harassment in the Hartford Police Department years ago at this point, whose case has still not been properly resolved, I'll say. Her experiences included those based in heterosexism, yet the LGBT Commission is trying to form a partnership with the police chief responsible for the continued inaction on her case. The Hartford Police Department is not safe for women. It is not safe for LGBTQ plus people or people of color. The LGBT Commission forming a partnership with Thody and HPD is against the interests of the LGBT community as a whole, Black LGBTQ plus people, and queer and trans women. In closing, I would like to restate the necessity of queer solidarity with Black liberation. The LGBT Commission must stand in solidarity with the Black community in not only severing any partnerships with HPD and Thody, but also in calling for his removal. We must stand together in the fight against oppression. I hope you make the right decision. Thank you for your time.